also known as Mark Media TV.
Nkolanga munnamawulire wa NUP.
I work as a journalist for the National Unity Platform.
Olunaku olwo nali nkavalinga president nga tugenderuka.
On that day, Nalin Saka, since you said we were covering, so I'm also translating to Uganda. But go ahead.
Twali tuyingira luka.
We were entering Luka district.
Agali gambadde black n'emmundu zesirabangako ne batusalako.
We were apprehended by military officers in black.
Baatugamba abamawulire tetugenda kukkirizibwa.
We were told we were not going to be allowed as journalists.
Bayaza amamotoka gaffe naye ne tusalawo abamu twakola lobadaba style akagambo president waffe Kyagulanyi ke yatuyigiriza.
Our cars were searched, but we were able to get away with our equipment.
Twagezaako okubalaga emmotoka ng'ate bwe tusonga engalo abamu batuyitemu bagende bakavalinga president.
We were able to maneuver and get away with some vehicles and equipment.
Abasigala emabega baali bagezaako okulaba nti batuyiziyiza okukwata ebifaananyi obutagenda mu bantu naye bannaffe abamu ne bafuna chance ne bagenda ewali president ne bakwata.
A number of officers stayed behind to ensure that we did not broadcast.
Twawaganya naffe ku mmotoka ze baali bagezaako okusalako naffe ne tuzivuga ne tuyingira. President twamusanga batandise omukwata. Twamugoba emisinde ne batwekiika mu kkubo. Emiggo gyavuga nze simanyi emiggo gyankuwa ku olwo.
Okay, I have to translate that.
Omusango ogusinga.
Wait, that's an important detail. We were able to pursue the vehicle in which the president who had been arrested was being driven, and there was a hail of beatings and cans. He personally does not know how many got onto his body.
Nenga ekyali kisinga otukubya singa ogezaako n'olaga ku kadi y'amawulire egyo gyali emiggo tetwamanya nti mu Uganda kuba musango okubeera munnamawulire.
Being a journalist was criminalized, especially holding a card that identified you as one was an offense.
Nali nziruka nze nvuga ate nze nkutte kamera kubanga driver wange baali bamaze omukuba.
I was driving while filming.
Twatuuka mu kkubo nga Eddie Mutwe, Mark driver wa president, Akirewo Kivumbi, Dan Magiki ne Franka ne Ashraf Kasirye bagudde ku ttaka. Tetwalina kyakukola okujjako ate okuddako emabega okubakasuka mu mmotoka eyali okumpi era ka video ako nenkakwata speed nenkasaayo nenvuga ate ngende Nalufenya gye batutte president.
Okay, all those names are of people who had been hit. I think Ashraf Kasiri was shot in the head. Eddie Mutwe here had also been temporarily put out of action, and several others had been severely injured. So he had to carry them with others into vehicle.
Tuba tutuuka e Nalufenya ffe twalowooza nti tuli bannamawulire naye akaguwa ke baatuterawo gaalinga masasi ge baakubanga line not to cross.
He and his journalist colleagues thought that because they were journalists, they would be allowed to get into Nalufenya police station prison, but they were instead kept out by the use of bullets that were fired in a line to show that they shouldn't cross that line.
Amangu ago na coordinatinga omwana akola ku camera 2 eya Mark Media TV ne mugamba switchinge on camera eri mu kibuga wakati Kampala.
I asked a colleague to turn on camera 2 which covers Kampala.
Nchiwanti kamera eyo yagolokosa abantu bangi okumanya nti president waffe ddala kituufu bamaze omukwata.
That camera did a crucial job in informing the population about what was happening.
Ndowooza ngenda okutunula ku kamera ekyansizaamu amaanyi nti twali tutuuse mu 24K viewership abaali ku live essaawa ezo.
We had a huge audience at that point of 24,000 in Sabasebo or Funze.
Yes. Nga maliriza nti abasigala e Nalufenya twali tusabira bali mu centro nga n'abali mu centro basabira ffe abali e Nalufenya. Bwe zaawera ssaawa 12 ez'akawungeezi ne batutega akamotoka nti president bamutadde omwo ne tugoba akamotoka mpaka Gayaza. Unfortunately tusanga ng'ate si bwe bamutadde ate ne tuvuga ate ne tudde Nalufenya.
A ploy was hatched and they followed the ploy where a decoy car was used to make them believe that Bobi Wine had been put in a certain vehicle, whereas not, and they pursued that vehicle only to realize later that they were following a dead lead.
Mwebyo nga byakaggwa nga tukyanyiga ebiwundu nze omu ku bannamawulire gwe bakwatira ekalangala emikono gine gyekutte microphone n'amagulu gano nze omu gwe basooka okusalako ne bansibira e Kalangala okumala emyezi 8.
He is one of the journalists who were arrested in Kalangala Islands and was imprisoned. His hands were bound for 8 months in custody.
Tusibya ne bannange kubeera nti mpagira oba nkwata ebifaananyi ebya National Unity Platform ate nga ngoberera His Excellency Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu.
He's on the offense being a supporter of and a journalist for the National Unity Platform. Thank you very much for sharing. So that brings this brief segment to an end. Jerry would like to... Okay, we have, if you have a copy of the program, which I'm sure many of you have, there is a screening of a short video about human rights violations in Museveni's Uganda. That will be conducted outside this auditorium. But for now, we'd like to proceed to have the keynote address. But I'd like to encourage all of us to, when the time allows, to step out and view that short video. It's illustrative, it's informative, and for anyone who wants to appreciate what has happened, to see some of these things in motion, these incidents here that are lined up here and outside, you could go take a look at that recording. Now I have the pleasure of introducing Dr. Andrew David Omona, who will deliver the keynote address this morning. He is the Dean, School of Social Sciences at Uganda Christian University and National Coordinator, Religious Leaders, Justice and Peace Network, Uganda. Please welcome Dr. Andrew David Omona. So, Dr. Omona, I should disclose to the audience that you were my lecturer at the School of Law at UCU. You used to cut short our presentations and tell us we have 5 minutes. Today I'm going to revenge. You have 20 minutes.
Yes, thank you.
Bana admin wangedoza ntere ko headline ya Nenga tule live Kenya.
David, I do many work, and one of which is to teach. I would like to thank the Kenyan Human Rights Commission for extending this invitation to me, and our political leaders in Uganda for coming to be part of this discussion. And you, ladies and gentlemen, you peace-loving Ugandans, ardent supporters of human rights accountability in our country. I'm going to give a brief highlight on a topic that I have given us human rights landscape in Uganda, a narrative of contradictions.
Echaliyo walai map mzee kama wajibana nge ampe kukwenda kwa power bank ina power bank ndio chota ina kebo nina kebo
In the place of Lena near Argos, from which this monster usually emerges to torment animals and human beings of Lena. People tried to kill this monster, but every time they tried, they failed. And one man, Hareko, took it upon himself as one of the 12 things that he was said to do. But he tried every time he cut the head other heads emerged. So not until he had to employ the service of his nephew, Hiodas, and Hiodas kept assisting him whenever the head was cut. He would seal it so that other heads would not emerge from this cut wound. And not until Herodes was able to cut the immortal head and got the head buried under a rock, and then inflicted a final pain on the Hydra that made it die completely. As you recall, at independence, many writers say Uganda began on a right platform. The first 2 years, vestiges of colonial administration was rooted out, and the nationals took over the country, and people got excited that we are in charge of our own affairs. The government took to construct schools, hospitals, roads, and other social amenities. But this was only short-lived when cracks started developing between them. It eventually got ugly, and the innocent people felt the brunt. The monster started emerging, and many people during the first period of our independence in the 1960s, those of you who were alive, I was not born yet, test or attest to these facts. And as things continued, even the people who sat together could no longer sit together. The military got involved in this saga, and the military for the first time became the arbiter of political controversies in the country and entrenched themselves into the political life of the country. And of course, you get a military man who is there to obey orders. Once an order is given, the order is done to the best of the giver of orders. And these and others led to cutting of the head of the Hydra that was disturbing the people of Uganda. In 1971, people saw Obote as a problem of Uganda, as a monster that was disturbing Uganda. And the military, with Amin taking over, giving good 18 points for taking over government, and accusing the past government of detention without trial,
headline,
and other human rights related issues. And when you read the 18 points that the military gave to take over the government, you may think this is now a group of people who will make things better. But the better was not realized by the people. Not long after that, the real character of the military, in the person of their chief executive, started showing up. The cut head of the Hydra led to the growing of more heads. and with a lot of fear. People disappeared, people were tortured. I remember that time I was a young boy, born in 1970. My father was working somewhere, and there were people who were guarding an airfield that was near our home. And there were some soldiers who used to come home and chat with us. Whenever they got rations, they could bring for us children, and we were happy. But from nowhere, we could not see these people coming. And our parents told us that those people were taken and killed. These are people from Acholi and Orlando. And brute was the force that it started killing its own, even in uniform. And everyone took position to do whatever he could do in the name of keeping the state. And yet the other day, of the 18 points, human rights abuses were echoed as things are coming to close. Then fast forward, peace-loving human rights advocates, Ugandans, mobilized with the Tanzanian forces. And Uganda was liberated. And people sang. People were liberated. And the name of the forces were the liberators. Liberating us from what? From tyranny. But what ensued thereafter even became worse. Those who saw bodies littered around the country, littered around the roads, and so forth. And then I was just in primary one, but my schooling was punctuated with a lot of confusion. At times you take a long time not going to school, and so forth. And the years that followed, some of us slept more in the bush than in our houses, because whatever was happening was bad. For my case, I was in a Germany, and then there was a rebel group led by Moses Ali. Whenever those groups come, the UNLA will come after that and torture the people that you are part of the rebels. Whenever the rebels come, they accuse you of supporting the government, and so you don't know where to belong. Rights abusers. And they did this at will. And people's hands were all tied behind them. No one could do anything. Then the 80s, the late 70s, and then mid-80s. People thought things were getting better. Amin was born. The head of the Hydra was cut. Lest did people know that more heads were going to grow on the Hydra. And the same situation started replaying, if not even worse. The forces that liberated the country became even more terrible. Revenge, killings, torture of the innocent, and so forth defined the country. I remember my brother visited Arua, and they were made to lie, to be shot. Then he raised up his hand, he spoke, and they told him to get up. But before he could rescue the people who he had visited, the order was given and all those who were lying down became corpses. And that was the country that we lived in. The liberators from human rights abuses became abusers, even terrible, of human rights. Each group that came with different agenda. One promising restoration of peace, prosperity, and so forth, but in actual sense, it is just a cover-up of yet what is to follow. When Bobi became the president, things of course continued in the 80s. And Tito Okello eventually overthrew the government, claiming the same mistakes. But the situation continued. Our current president, feeling cheated during the elections, went to the bush and started talking things that people thought would be good. And people like Dr. Desige, Mugisha Muntu, eventually joined, knowing that things would be better because the picture was painted bright. Liberating Uganda from the hands of tyranny. And the 10-point program was put forward, started politicizing, and this is our agenda, and eventually took over power in 86. I had just completed P7 in 85. And we were not sure of whether we would go to school. And when the government fell, we were excited because we overheard that a pro-civilian armed forces have come to the scene of Uganda. And to prove this, the Arab soldiers were firing squad. The soldiers who committed some crimes were shot dead in public. And people say, yes, this is now a civilian-faced government. And then immediately, a commission of inquiry into human rights abuses was launched. Justice Odell and his team were given a task to do. I have read through the pages of that report, though not many Ugandans have seen. Just like the Commission of Inquiry that Amin instituted to look at the disappearance of Ugandans, then this commission was just targeted from 9th October 1962 to 25th January 1986. And when you read at the report, you found that some of the reports were just meant to confirm what somebody wants to start with. And unfortunately, because of some aspects of the report was not made public. If you want to get the report, you have to go through external sources to get the report. The army started at it again. abusing people's rights. I went collecting data for my PhD, and some of the stories that I gathered could not be taken by people who are faint-hearted. See somebody first cry before they tell you their story. Stories of abuses across the country. Economic deprivation, raping of women and girls, sodomy of men in front of the members of their families, started manifesting. Fast forward, 1995. A new constitution was promulgated with a beautiful preamble. Let me read word for word. We, the people of Uganda, recalling our history, which has been characterized by political and constitutional instability, recognizing our struggle against the forces of tyranny, oppression, and exploitation, committed to building a better future by establishing a socio-economic and political order through a popular and durable national constitution based on the participation on the principle of unity, peace, equality, democracy, freedom, social justice, and progress, exercising our sovereignty and inalienable rights to determine the form of governance for our country, and having fully participated in the constitution-making process, knowing that a constituent assembly was established to represent us and debate the draft constitution prepared by the Uganda Constitution Commission, and to adopt and enact a constitution for Uganda, do hereby, in and through this Constitutional Assembly, solemnly adopt, enact, and give to ourselves, our posterity, this Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, this 22nd day of September in the year 1995. A very good preamble. When you read this, you get to know that we, through this, set to correct the wrongs that bedeviled our country over the years. But we read it. Beautiful preamble indeed. And the whole chapter of the Constitution, chapter 4, is dedicated to human rights and freedoms. But we are witnessing the contrary. With time, of course, series of acts came up. To undo what has been done in the name of terrorism, the Terrorist Act, the Computer Misuse Act, Uganda Communications Act, and so forth and so forth, were put up to marshal the people. I and Kasozi and our colleagues, we took it upon ourselves to go around the country and work for justice and peace. but we were misunderstood. One time I was asked, who do you work for? I say, I work for all. I work for peace and justice. Where there is justice, then we will have achieved what we are working for. But you see that right service has been the order of the day. Informal groups like the Bobi squads, the chieftaincy of military intelligence, having safe houses. People talked about the dungeon of Nakasero. We have many safe houses in the country. You get a general standing up saying we shall shoot and kill, and nothing happens. Court martial, targeted, even civilians tried. Militarized police, only beating those with different views. The past elections. When other people go to campaign, they violate the SOPs. But when the head of state goes, SOPs put aside. And the situation that we saw happen this day in 2020 was just but a series of happenings that our people have gone through. People are being disabled. People cannot speak. That which is supposed to be good for the country is not seen to be the good. Good is defined, or rights of people is defined by who says it is the right. We have resources of the country, but you hear some people saying,
abalungi abatulaba live tuli Nairobi mubali kubeera ku Sama Uganda Media tuli Nairobi nange oluzungu lunumesezaamu omutwe lungi naye nzire tuli Nairobi olunaku olwaleero jjukira nti Mwami Museveni ne gavumenti ye batta abantu abasuka mu 10 ennaku z'omwezi nga 18 19 November. So bano baganda baffe bamulengera wano batibwa batokyaringibwa gavumenti ya Mwami Museveni batokyaringibwa okugibwa kati ono yagibwako akagere nga bamulaba yagibwako akagere ke akekyala kisajja. Ono bamwita Charles yali wa boda Butanda stage in Kafumbe Mukasa Road outside Owino Market on the second day of the shooting. Semakula top passenger to CBS FM in Bolange Mengo ono Heritan met soldiers ngenda banyonyola mu Luganda nenga biri mu Luzongwe kati ono bamusanga yali akolera mu Owino ku Kafumbe Mukasa Road bweru wakatale ne yakati bwe yali akolera naye bwe yali avotwala omusabaze ku CBS nasanga abamaje ne bamukwata ne bamutwala ne bamubuzaawo. So oba musobola okwesomera. So bano bonna abantu bamulaba babuzibwawo abalala battibwa ennaku z'omwezi nga 18 ne 19 gw'omulonja leeko Sama Uganda Media. Ono bamwita John Bosco Kibalama basinga mumumanyi abo basinga mumuwulira naye yabuzibwawo emyaka mingi nnyo taddangamu kubanga alabikako. So ngenda balaga ebifaananyi ebyenjawulo eby'abantu abaziba tokyaringibwa n'okubanga babuzibwawo abeeyita by'ebyokwerinda nenga bali okutulugunya munnayuganda. Honorable, assalamu alaikum. Kambalaga bifaananyi bannange. Ono mukyala bamukuba yali lubuto bamukuba amasasi ng'agenda kayunga oyo omukyala ngenda kubanyonyola kuba mulimu abatamanyi luzungu so nga nyina okubanyonyola ensonga eno mugitegeere bulungi. Ono bamuwamba yaleka abaana yalina emyaka 32 taddangamu kulabika. Ono omwana recently abadde bafollowinga yakawambibwa omwana ono abadde bafollowinga president post ze oyo omuvubuka yakawambibwa. Ono bamunona ku ssaawa 10 ez'ekiro naku z'omwezi nga 2 Novemba 2022 bamujja wuwe Mugema zone Kawaala oyo naye bamutwala naye bamuwamba. Tulina abantu bangi nnyo nga temubamanyi naye nga jasi bawambibwa buwambibwa ne batwalibwa ewatamanyiddwa. Kati ne bano Ssemwayi yabawamba. Omwagala okwesomera nga mungamba Ssamasoko olindekaawo tusooke tumanye. Ndefeto ogamba otya? Kale papa ne mwebale kubeerawo. So tugezako okubalaga biki gavumenti ya Mwami Museveni byegezako kubanga etuusa ku bannayuganda. Abantu bemulaba bonna abamu bawambibwa abalala battibwa ewatali musango. So tuli mugezako okubalaga bifaananyi ebyenjawulo. So tubaze munda mugezeko kubanga mumanya ate kyekiri munda. Oyo muganda waffe bamuyita Seruga abafollowinga mumumanyi. Seruga yaluzinga okugulu kwe oba talina kugulu kwe nenga waali mulamu Katonda mulungi naye nga yaluzinga okugulu kwe. So abantu bangi baluzinza obulamu bwabwe mu kuba nti tweyanira enkyukakyuka oba okwagala enkyukakyuka. Abalala ne bafa abalala ne bawambibwa n'abalala bakyabawambibwa bangi nnyo bangi bakyattibwa. So ngenda kusaba buli atuuka sharinga network ku baganda baffe abamuziganye ne Katonda mulungi nti nze nyina line ya wano so that's why nti ndi ku line okubanga mbalaga ekigenda mu maaso naye nga abasinga babadde ne line za Uganda so nezigaana. Bobo ina line ya wano oba osobola okwaccessinga network okubanga osobola okuweereza. So mwebale kubeerako ngenda basa buli atuuka sharinga. Nyina ne YouTube channel yange yo by the way ebolako abantu ndozanga 20 tuweze olukomenti Facebook beeganye nga tugenda ku YouTube. So ngenda basaba asobola okugenda ku YouTube yange bambi mutima mulungi simbo bete tukaka no osobola okugendayo okusupporting okubanga tusobola kufuna data okubanga tubaweereza byala kuba bino bitandika butandisi. Oyo gaba bamuyita Seruga yatemwako okugulu kwe. So kasooka ndabe ku edimu tobanange katono nnyo mbazeeyo munda.
He does a fantastic job of periodizing Uganda's post-independence experience along the 9 also regimes that we've had. And he uses an analogy of a hydra. A hydra is a mythical animal in Greek folklore that cannot easily die. Every time you cut off one head, 5 or more heads. Computer Misuse Act, Anti-Terrorism Law, Anti-Money Laundering Act, and several others which have characterized recent legislative trends. We need to hold the MPs here. I've seen about 4 of them introduce themselves. These legislative trends that you are associated with, we need to hold your feet to the fire about the kinds of laws that Parliament is passing. I know the kind of Parliament we have, don't want to open that can of worms. And finally, he talks about the rise of state-sponsored militia and vigilantes, local support, and now we have so many. The ousting of the jurisdiction of the High Court by the military court-martial. And it really is a question of this hydra. So that November 18th, 17th, 18th, and 19th that we're discussing here is not just a standalone event, but one of a series of violations that have happened in our post-independence experience. And so it falls on us to find solutions as citizens to these challenges.
There is one thing standing between all of you and a tea break, and that one thing is that you take out your phone and tweet about this event. If my colleagues who are monitoring social media tell me that they are not seeing any tweets from you, we're going to close these doors until you tweet. You will not have break tea until you have tweeted. So please take out your phones. You've been given the hashtags that we're using. Please tweet and take a look at this. Go around as you go for the tea break. My colleague Jerry will come up after the break to share what it is we will be doing after the break. We have a half-hour break outside here. There's 7 points behind these exits. Tea served. Thank you.
Okay.
I propose a group picture for the leaders right here. Yes, please. Where is Mulimira now?
So banange tugenda kufunamu ka break omulungi ali ku Sama Uganda Media tugenda kufunamu ka break katono nnyo ate tumale tudde so mbasaba mubeereko temuvaako tugenda kufunamu ka break katono nnyo so abakulembeze ab'enjawulo webali tulabyeko Dr. Kanonkiza Besigye tulabyeko Mugisha Muntu tuyinawo omukyala ono Winnie tuyinawo omukyala Winnie tuyinawo bannabyabufuzi bannankyukakyuka ab'enjawulo muganda wange ali ku Sama Uganda Media jukira nti tuli Kenya
Thank you. Now, can I have the principals alone? Only the principals? With KHRC. Let's have that.
Ladies and gentlemen, tea is served. When you come to the hall, go to your right and tea is at the garden.
Let's go for tea. Yes. This is for Uganda leaders first. Then after that. Are you getting all of us?
Sebo, stay where you are. Okay, omulonje aliyo ku Sama Uganda Media. Ngenda nange soka vaako katono nnyo tugenda gendako mu break ate tukomewo. So mwebale nnyo okubanga mule live yonna gye musinzira. Tulina omukyala Jule. Jule. Okay, chi nsonga ki esoko nyonyole ku bantu ensonga ki esinze ddala okutuleeta wano. Twogereko nnyo eh? Okay, tuyenze mami wobale kubaawo wobale kujja. Okay, tuli Kenya baganda bange. Okay, so kati ngenda vako katono nnyo baganda bange ate male nkomewo. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much okubeera ku Sama Uganda Media. Ngenda vako katono nnyo ate nkomewo. Peace.